Madam President, I'd like to tell you about a teenager. I think you know about Justin Nallberg from our home state, Minnesota. Yesterday should have been Justin's 16th birthday. Justin was a kind young man, friendly and cheerful, a budding composer, but he was also the target for bullies at his high school who targeted him because he was different, because he was gay. I never had the opportunity to meet Justin. His family lost him to suicide last summer. You know that. But you and I have been privileged to meet his mother, Tammy. I've been privileged to meet her a few times. She's incredible. She's been speaking out to protect other kids. Because unfortunately, there are a lot of other kids out there struggling to get through school as they suffer from bullying, from harassment and discrimination at their public schools. 9 out of 10 LGBT students are harassed or bullied or taunted in school, and this harassment deprives them of an equal education. They are more likely to skip school, they are less likely to perform well academically, and they are more likely to drop out before they graduate from high school. And in some tragic cases like Justin's, the harassment of LGBT students can even lead to suicide. We have seen this in all too many cases all over the country, because sadly this problem is so much broader than Justin. More than a third of lesbian, gay, and bisexual youth have made a suicide attempt. More than a third. That is horrifying beyond belief to me. We are failing these kids. And that is why I, along with 29 of my Senate colleagues, including presiding officer, have reintroduced the Student Non-Discrimination Act today. While federal civil rights laws prohibit discrimination on the basis of race, color, sex, religion, disability, and national origin, they do not explicitly cover sexual origin or gender identification. As a result, parents of LGBT students have limited legal recourse when schools fail to protect their children from harassment and bullying. You might be wondering why I'm mentioning bullying and discrimination in the same breath. It's simple. When a school acts to protect kids with disabilities from bullying but looks the other way when LGBT kids are harassed by their peers, that is discrimination. When school staff members participate in or encourage bullying of LGBT youth, that is discrimination. When a principal excuses a bully who torments an LGBT kid with "boys will be boys," this is discrimination. And it needs to stop. It needs to stop before more kids are hurt. The Student Non-Discrimination Act would prohibit discrimination and harassment in public schools based on sexual orientation and gender identity. It would give LGBT students similar civil rights protection against bullying and harassment as those that currently apply to students based on characteristics like race and gender. The legislation would also provide meaningful remedies for discrimination in public schools based on sexual orientation or gender identity, modeled on Title IX's protection against discrimination and harassment based on gender. 50 years of civil rights history shows that similar laws that contain such remedies are often most effective in preventing discrimination from occurring in the first place. Like other civil rights laws, the one we introduced today would prompt schools to avoid liability by taking proactive steps to prevent the discrimination and bullying of students protected by the bill. I guarantee you that when this bill is passed, nearly every school district in the country is going to go to its lawyer and ask, how do we come into compliance? I guarantee you that the U.S. Department of Education will issue regulations, as it has under Title IX, so that schools have guidance as to how to protect these kids. The goal isn't for any school to be sued for failing to protect kids from bullying and harassment. The goal isn't for any school to come under Department of Education scrutiny. The goal is for schools to do all they can to ensure that these incidents never happen in the first place. Parents in Minnesota and across the country entrust their children to public schools with the understanding that these schools will do everything in their power to keep their children safe. When 9 in 10 LGBT kids are bullied at school, when they are 3 times more likely than straight kids to feel unsafe at school, when 1/3 of LGBT kids say they've skipped a day of school in the last month because of feeling unsafe, then we know that our public education system is not fulfilling its most basic obligations to parents to keep children safe. And we have an obligation to do something about it. Yesterday, Justin Alberg from our state of Minnesota should have celebrated his 16th birthday. Should have celebrated with his family and his friends. But instead, I know his family and his friends will be missing him terribly. I knew they were yesterday, and I know they still are today. No child should have to go through the pain that Justin went through at school. No mom or dad should have to go through the heartbreaking pain that Justin's family has gone through. It's time. It's time that we extend equal rights to LGBT kids, to LGBT students. We have the opportunity now, as we reform No Child Left Behind, the ESEA, the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, to include this legislation. Our children cannot afford for us to squander this opportunity. I urge all of my colleagues to join me today in supporting the Student Non-Discrimination Act and in demanding protection for all of our children under the law. Madam President, I ask unanimous consent that the bill's text be included in the record.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you, Madam President. I yield the floor and ask, suggesting absence of a quorum.
The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Akaka.